Welcome to the Biz Gone Social podcast. We help entrepreneurs navigate how to get known, get customers, and get the edge over their competition. Here is your host, Lorraine Duncan.
So here we are on the Biz Gone Social podcast, and I am so glad to be here. And my promise to you, as always, is I want to give you a little bit of verbal caffeine that's going to energize your business and help you stay social. After all, don't you want to be the business that everyone's talking about? And I'm really stoked to have Coach Lori Ann with me. Welcome, Coach.
Hey, thanks. So happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about what your business is and who you serve.
So my business is LDC Strategies, and I serve visionary entrepreneurs.
So visionary entrepreneurs. So what is a visionary entrepreneur?
So a visionary entrepreneur is someone who has lots and lots of ideas and wants to start a business. Some of them are in a business. Some of them are running a business, like C-suites, chief visionary officers, chief executive officers, chief financial officers, visionaries who want to own their own company, who haven't started yet and want to, and some people who have their own companies and they really want to explode out and maybe have hit a wall, can't seem to get over that hurdle, and I help them out. So they're really visionaries. They're what I call Super Balls. I'm a Super Ball. Remember the Super Balls that you would bounce and they'd bounce all over the place and they look like they were a hot mess? Actually, through my findings, is there's actually a pattern to a Super Ball. And if you watch it long enough, you'll see what those patterns are, and it's how it bounces off. And that trajectory is important. And that's where my taking action with jet propulsion masterclass came in, is that we're going to take those energies and we're going to harness them. And here's the thing with Super Balls like myself is if you harness me too much and you put me in a box, I'm going to take my ball literally and go home because I don't like being put into a box. But for me to be at my most creative, I need to take that energy and focus it, as well as having that creative space to allow me to be expansive, if that makes sense to you. So with that said, I've learned how to harness the energy and be able to let people learn how to take that energy and be focused and also remain creative at the same time. So a lot of times people have tried to harsh it, to stop me from being creative, to keep that energy in a box. And then I lose my creativity. So I've learned how to do that and allow visionary entrepreneurs to teach them how to do that themselves so that they can soar to success. So that's what I mean by visionary entrepreneurs. They really have really big vision, really big dreams, but they're not sure how to get there. There's symptoms to what I call Super Ball syndrome. There are symptoms to that. A lot of irons in the fire, not really focused in one place. Sometimes you feel like a really big failure because you'll never be that person who has 25 years and gets that gold watch at the end. You will never be that person. If you're not that person, you're one of me. You're one of the people who like to learn, who learn different things, who get excited about things, may have shiny object syndrome. We're all of those things. So if you put that all in a box, those are many of the symptoms of Super Ball syndrome.
Yeah. And some people would say that those type of people are like hot messes, because discipline has to be there, and you have to do this a certain way. And I totally get that. I'm probably
that's putting me in a box when you're like, you have to do it this way. I'm like, but it doesn't resonate with me that way. I'd like to do it this way. So you need to be able to be expanded. You need to be able to have that opportunity to expand what you're seeing. And that's where we're really good at collaborating, taking someone's idea and making it even better. So those are the visionaries I like to work with. And those are the people I love to inspire. And those are the people I love to give these tools to so that they can stay focused and seem successful. Because yes, we look like a hot mess, and yet it's anything but. It just looks that way from the outside.
Yeah. So what got you into this? What was your why in doing this?
Oh my gosh. So first of all, I love coaching. I love propelling people, inspiring people. That's why I'm an inspirational speaker. I love looking at people and finding, I can see their superpower. I have that superpower. Is my superpower is seeing what your purpose is and what your superpowers are and really honing in on it. And then I love watching people expand from the inside out, meaning they're becoming genuinely themselves and genuinely the person they're meant to be. And I love watching them do that. How I discovered Super Bowl syndrome was in myself, as I found myself during a work week, and I'm very disciplined. When I work, and I'm very solidly working, but I found myself, because I have an office in my home as well. I found myself down folding laundry one day. And I'm like, I don't like folding laundry. That's like hot pins in my eyes compared to everything else that I do. And I'm like, why am I folding laundry in the middle of a work week? And I discovered something called justifiable excuses. See, folding laundry is important to my family. Folding laundry, I am doing something that's important. So therefore, it is a justifiable excuse that I'm not doing my work. But what that really meant was, what was I avoiding was the real question. What was I avoiding? And what I was avoiding was what I thought was a potential conflict. In order for me to take that next step, I needed to make a phone call that I was resisting for 2.5 weeks. And I was trying to find other things, and this is where you'll find Super Bowls doing justifiable excuses, putting other irons in the fire to say, hey, I have to do this. This is important. So I can do this. And I feel justified not doing this. I figured out what I was doing, what my excuse was, what I was avoiding. And I went upstairs. I made myself go upstairs and make the phone call. Mind you, 2.5 weeks, I've been finding reasons not to make this phone call because I was afraid of what they were going to say. And I didn't want the no. I called up, I made the phone call, put on my big girl pants, made that phone call, had the conversation. Within 2 seconds, they were like, yeah, that's fine. So 2.5 weeks, I stressed myself out for no reason at all. I'm sure we all did that. I'm sure you listeners have done that. Stressed ourselves out for no reason, thinking worst case scenario, thinking catastrophically instead of anatrophically being thinking positively, right? And here all along, it was a yes. And I was worried about the no. So now I've learned to rip off that Band-Aid very quickly. And if a no is going to be a no today or 2.5 weeks from now, a no is going to be a no today or 2.5 months from now, what would you like it to be? So for me, give me the no now so that I can go on a different trail or follow a different track, right? So once I had that, I was just like, why do I do this? And I started analyzing that. And that's when I came up with the symptoms to the Super Bowl syndrome. And this is one major symptom, justifiable excuses, because the outside world looking in on us will not hold us accountable. They will go, oh, well, that makes sense. That's important. Inside, we're also saying it's important. So it's okay. When in reality, what are we avoiding?
So that's absolutely fascinating. And I do this justifiable excuse too. And that's the whole thing is because a lot of us work from home, we think it's perfectly okay to do the dishes or do the laundry, or one time I didn't want to do something. Now I'm confessing. And so I literally cleaned the whole house.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Here's the funny story. So I'll just tell you this briefly. The story it was actually about a podcast. And I was thinking about monetizing my podcast. And I was just all freaking out about it. I just don't know how to do it, blah, 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 blah. And I procrastinated this by doing other things. I worked on my business. I did, client fulfillment. I marketed. I did everything but monetize my podcast. And realized that a friend of mine had said, why don't you just do it? Why are you wasting time? Why aren't you doing it? And so I did it. It was literally one click of a button. And I procrastinated it for months and months. So,
but I mean, justifiable excuses. And the thing is if we could just focus in on what it is we're trying to avoid, we can make that learning curve ever so short. We can shorten that learning curve. And those are some of the tools and pointing it out and finding it out. Some of those justifiable excuses come out of our opens, messes, and incompletes. And that's something that, I want to give as a giveaway to your listeners is a free PDF that they could jump into. I'm sure you'll share the link to that. We're going to clean up those opens, messes, and incompletes. What do I mean by that? I'll give you an example. Every day like I said before, I have an office in my house, and every day I would get my cup of coffee and I would go up my stairs and I would stop and I would just look, and I like my wires being hidden. And there was this one wire that was visible from my, I have a salt lamp, and it was visible across my living room wall. And I'm like, oh, I have to get an extension cord for that. Then I'd go up to my office and I'd write it down again to go get the extension cord one of these days, on my to-do list. And every day I would walk up and I would notice when I went into my office, I would start agitated in my office because I'm thinking about that one thing that I had to do that I walk by every morning. One day I just stopped. I put my cup down on my stairs. I went down, I got the extension cord, I hooked it up, I fixed it. It took me less than a minute, no exaggeration, Lorraine. It took me less than a minute and it was done. And there was a sense of that came across. If you understand that when you complete this little task that had been nagging at you, those are our opens, messes, and incompletes. These little things that we have to get done. Just get them done. Put them on the list and do them one at a time. I actually use this tool. It's a free app called Microsoft To Do. It connects, if you have Microsoft package, it connects to your Outlook and things like that. But you could use it singularly. Not only is it a desktop, but it also syncs to your cell phone. It's beautiful because it does something that I love. First of all, it has your what you could do today. It has tasks and you can put things down to remind you. But more importantly, when you finish it, it makes this little ding and then it crosses it off. And there's something yummy about that sound and the cross off that you see of accomplishment, that you feel like, okay, I got this done. When you look back, you can see all the things you've done and you feel like, okay, this is what I did with my day. It's a good assessment. It holds you accountable if you don't have an accountability partner, and it's a really good tool. And I love that ding sound because I got to finally that day check that annoying little task off. And so opens, messes, and incompletes helps you start that process of all the things, those little things that you got to get taken care of, and some big things, and also how to learn how to take those big tasks and break them down in more biteable pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the feeling of, and I'll write a list down. I have a planner that I use everything on. And I love the fact that you can, when I check something off that I've done it, and it's just such a good feeling inside. And then sometimes there are those things, and I want to address this because not everything is because that you don't do is because there are other reasons. And one of the things I will say is one time there was something that was on my to-do list for a very long time and
no longer relevant.
Yeah, that was one of them. But then there was another one. It was something that I needed to delegate. And yes. Sometimes we need to delegate. And to be honest, most things we need to delegate because we need to be working in our zone of genius. We need to be working with what we're passionate about. And so if you think about it with your Super Bowl, for instance, I'm very, very knowledgeable about the Super Bowl, and I'm very I was a Super Bowl girl. In fact, when I used to get in trouble and got put out in the hallway, we had a club out there because there was the same, and we would play Super Bowl in the hall. But when you take that Super Bowl, you aim it and it's going to someone and you have a reason, there's where the energy's going. It's going to. So anyways, the long story short, I love the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl. I want to say Super Bowl, but I know. But yeah. I love the Super Bowl.
It's a small little bouncy ball that just goes crazy when you bounce it, unless you aim it and there's a reason behind it and you control the energy. And energy can be controlled in anything. But the one thing that you pointed out that I love that you pointed out is that not everything on our to-do list, sometimes it sits on our to-do list so long that it either no longer applies and it's no longer that important. So you can dump it. I call it the 4 Ds. We can do it. So we separate our to-do list out into the 4 Ds. That's part of the PDF. You separate it out into the 4 Ds. Do it, delegate it, delete it, or dump it, whichever you'd like, or delay it. Sometimes it's okay. It's not important now, but I don't want to get rid of it yet. I'm not ready to dump it, but it's something that I want to do, but not right now. So what you're doing is you're taking that list and you're putting it into categories, and the do it right away. The delegate, it's just delegate it. We have to stay in our zone of genius. And that's one thing as a coach that I do is we identify your zone of genius, but then we also identify all these things that you're doing that you don't need to do. There are people out there that's their superpower. Give it to them. Give it to them, delegate it to them, whether it's a family member or whether it's an employee, somebody working for you. I love virtual assistants. Oh my gosh, they're brilliant. So there are so many things that we can give you and tools that allow us to stay in our zone of genius. My zone of genius is helping you find your zone of genius and then maximizing that, really monetizing that, and really soaring to success. That is what I do.
Nice. And I think a lot of people need that. Tell me, we're going to switch gears here a little bit. Tell me what you love most about being in the driver's seat of being in business for yourself.
It's wonderful. So it's called freedom. It's freedom. I don't answer to someone. I take a staff meeting with myself every Monday morning. We never have arguments. We're always in agreement. But we're also open for other people and we collaborate. We do a lot of joint collaboration, but I get to choose. I get to choose what I do every day. I get to choose to set up my business the way it is. I get to choose who I work with and who I won't work with. I don't accept every client. It needs to be a good fit. My clients, I look for three things. One is fire in your belly, two is desire to succeed, and three is showing up for you and showing up big. I say that on my radio show, show up for you and show up big. If you don't have those three qualities, it's not going to be a good fit for me because I'm going to have more energy in your business than you do. And that's not okay. But to answer your question, it's the freedom of scheduling. It's the freedom of doing what I want. I get to schedule my clients so it works into my schedule. Right now, I'm at my other location. I'm down in South Carolina. I get to move around. I get to do my business via Zoom. I get to work with people across the world now because of this technology and other things. And I get to work with people right in my backyard. So that sheer freedom is beautiful. And my financiers are completely up to the energy I choose to put into it. So I put in a lot of energy and I really focus and I really build my business. I make more money. If I decide that that's not what I want to do, I make less money, but it's a decision I make and I make alone.
That's awesome. And by the way, you're not only do you collaborate with yourself too, and that you are, you never have arguments with yourself, but here's the thing, you're also the employee of the month. Every month.
I am. And if I'm not, I get very disappointed in myself if I'm not the employee of the month. So I like that. I might start that and give myself an employee of the month thing. I do this every week though. And I think it's an important thing to add to your habits. I believe in daily habits. And one weekly habit I believe in is Friday mornings at 8:30 every Friday morning. I do a celebration. And it's with myself and sometimes it's with my partner and sometimes it's with other people, but mostly it's for me to look back at my week and look at my accomplishments. And they don't have to be huge, but I have to celebrate what I did accomplish. And it's really important. We don't celebrate enough as business owners. We look at all our mistakes with fierceness and microscopes, but we don't celebrate what we've achieved. We take it for granted. So celebrating you and celebrating even the smallest achievements. Sometimes it's merely getting out of bed that day and that's okay. So celebrate those achievements, those hurdles that we got over, those out of the box and I say this a lot, I am more comfortable being uncomfortable than I am being comfortable. Think about that. Just think about it, because I know when I'm uncomfortable, I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm becoming a better version of myself. When I'm comfortable, it's okay to be comfortable, but I know I'm not growing and I know I'm not, going to that next level. And I always like growing to that next level. So those things I celebrate when I get myself into uncomfortable and learn something new.
Absolutely. And, being a business owner and an entrepreneur, that is one thing that, I'm always, if I make a mistake during the week, oh man, I'm on it. I'm like, but those celebrations, I've learned over the years that they're so important. Even like if it's sometimes what it is for me every Thursday, mine is Thursday, I go out with a bunch of friends and I don't think about business for like a whole evening, and just it's a way of celebrating me for everything that I've done. And I actually use Fridays. I have an interesting thing for Fridays. Fridays is a day that I reflect on the past week, but I also plan for the next week, and I try to make it my shortest day of the week. My goal someday, and I'm never going to hit it, is a 4-hour work week. I'd love to have a 4-hour work week, but that's not going to happen yet.
It's going to happen. It'll happen.
Eventually, someday it will. But
yeah. So here's the thing. It's important to shut your brain down from work, because when we're too saturated, think about a towel that gets saturated with water, right? You put more water and it starts spilling the water out. It won't even hold it anymore. Our brains work the same way. It's too much work. It's spilling. You're trying to keep the water contained. You're trying to keep all that information contained, all these to-dos contained. You just can't do it. If you shut your brain down, and this is where meditation comes in as well, shut your brain down and give it a quiet moment. If you can find quiet time where you're not thinking about business, it gives your brain an opportunity to take a deep breath. And it also gives it an opportunity to come up and give you the answers, for you to hear the answers. You have all our success codes are inside. So you already know the answer. You just have to be able to hear it, but you have to give it space to come in. So when you go and spend time with your friends and you shut down business, when you go, and I have an interesting work week, I work on my business on Mondays and Fridays, and I work in my business with my clients Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and I do my radio show on Wednesdays. So all of my working in it is on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So Monday and Fridays are my swing days, and I'm working on my business for the future, thinking about what's happening down the road, looking at joint collaborations, doing other things that expand me to be better for my Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. So that's my work week. And again, being an entrepreneur, you and I get to set up our business the way we want our business to be and who we're going to work with. So I love that you celebrate you on a Thursday. You go out with your besties or your friends and you celebrate what you've done, and you really take a moment to just exhale and, open up for your Friday to be expansive, to set up your following week, to say, okay, now what are we going to do in the future? What are we doing next week? That's beautiful. That's such a good habit to have.
Yeah. And what I found, and here's an interesting, you touched on it, and I think everybody should listen. You said, we need to break from our businesses. And I hear so many people, like it's some kind of badge of honor. Like, I worked 60 hours last week, and I'm, and here's what I found. Have you ever had a time, like sometimes I have a bad tech moment and I'm trying to figure it out, and because I want to figure it out. And I've noticed when I finally put it away and walk away from it, and then when I come back, oh my God, I fix it in minutes. And it's because you're right. You have to create, you're right. It's overflowing. You have nothing left in you to give, and you have to get away from it. You really do. And that's why I love traveling. I mean, I always tell somebody when they say they work 60 hours a week, I said, you got to find a hobby. You got to find something. You cannot work 60 hours a week. Now, granted, there are times like when I'm in the middle of a launch for somebody that I put in the extra hours, but then I make sure all the next week that I'm breaking and I'm taking a little break because I need it. I try not to work on weekends.
Yeah. Weekends, I try to do family time. There are times we all have to work. There are times where we have to make exceptions. I'm just saying, don't make the 60-hour week a rule for you. And yeah, you can wear it as a badge of honor if that makes you feel good. But I will tell you that I am more expansive and I am better when I don't do that. And I am a former reformed workaholic, and I'm still a workaholic, but I'm a workaholic in times that I have chosen and selected. And I work very fervently during those times, and I really maximize that working time. Whereas some people are workaholics, they do 60 hours a week. Some people do 90 hours a week, which is crazy. But that's okay if they're comfortable with it. 90 hours a week. But if you really look at the work they're doing, there's a certain point where our brains don't function and they're not really being productive. So we work in, that 4-hour week that you're looking for. That's going to be productive 4 hours that you're going to get so much done that you're going to feel great about the time that you're spending, hanging out with your friends or taking a walk or doing something at the beach or doing something for yourself. Those times are equally as important to who you are in expansion as it is for you to be working on or in your business. And it's important that you do both, work in and on your business. If we're constantly in the rat wheel, working in our business, and we're not planning for what we want to be when we grow up, if you will, for our business, you're not going to see the growth potential. And that's why my clients always see this amazing jump, this just amazing exponential jump in their business when they work with a coach, is because now they're working on their business and they're really thinking about that future, what they want to do. With that clarity, we make different choices in our day of what we're going to do because we know what our goal is. It's almost like playing football, but not knowing where the end zone is. What? No, you have to know where the end zone is in the direction that you're going in order for you to go. We may change paths, we may change direction, change the placement of our end zone, if you will, but we will at least have some place to go in. But we need to also stay fluid with how we're going. And with that fluidity, that's how I ended up in coaching. I used to be a marketer. I used to be marketing, and I would find myself coaching the people that I was doing the marketing work for, and so I was just like, well, I feel I get more excitement out of this, and I feel fuller out of doing the coaching than I did out of the marketing. And I love marketing because that's a basic foundation. What you do is so important, Lorraine, because if somebody doesn't have a good foundation, I'm sending them to you to fix that first and foremost, so that our messaging is right going out there, because you can't grow unless you have a good message going out there. And if people don't know about you, then it doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be doing the most brilliant thing in the world, but nobody knows about it except for you. So marketing, your foundation needs to be strong, and your messaging needs to be really, really significant going forward.
Absolutely. And, a lot of my listeners today, they are startups. They are people who left corporate and own their own business. There are people who are well established in their business and they are doing really well. And then there are those that are listening on the fringe that are thinking of leaving corporate and starting their own business. What would be
people?
What would be one piece of advice that you could give that really broad group that would help them stay motivated and stay focused on their business?
So to that broad group, everybody has something in common, is that we need to establish goals. Goals are how much by when, right? So you need to establish a goal. And once you establish a goal, I really do recommend, and I'm not saying this because I'm in the industry, but I'm saying it because I really believe in it. I have 5 coaches. I believe that you should have a coach. You need an accountability partner. You need somebody who's going to hold you accountable and is going to say, in a nice, kind, supportive way, hey, what are you doing? If it's like going to the gym. Have you ever gone to the gym and you didn't have a partner, and you're like, that rainy day, you don't feel like getting out of bed? You're not going to let anybody down, and you just don't feel like getting out of bed, so you don't. But if you have that person waiting at the gym, you're going to get out of bed 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, because you don't want to let them down. So, and here's another rule with that, is that it's a non-negotiable. A non-negotiable meaning that you can't call each other and say, hey, I'm not making it today. I don't take the phone call for that person. So now they're forced to show up because they know they can't get in touch with me. And so that accountability partner is really important. That's what a coach is. A coach is your accountability partner. It's your guide. It's your person to give you resources, and make sure that coach has a coach. A coach without a coach is uncoachable. So you don't want an uncoachable coach. You want somebody who's always learning and getting better at their tools, so that they can have the tools in place to help you get better at what you're doing. So yeah, go out and find a coach, get somebody to hold you accountable, get somebody to get on that trail with you with your dreams. And the one other thing I would say, if I could have 2, can I have 2, Lorraine? The other one is surround yourself with raving fans. Your family members, your bestie, just have at least one person who's a raving fan. No matter what you're doing, they are supportive. They are sitting there saying, yes, you can do this, because between your coach and that raving friend, you will have what will propel you into unbelievable success. Because again, if you have that fire in your belly and you have that desire, you are going to be able to achieve it. We don't have those thoughts unless we can achieve it, unless universe, God, source, however you refer to your higher power, they give that to you because they already know you have the ability to execute it. It's just about whether you take action. And that's why my master class is called Take Action with Jet Propulsion. We need to take action. And 92% of the people never take action. They have the ideas, but they don't take action. I help you take action.
That's awesome. And that's one of the biggest problems with an entrepreneur today, is that they do not take action. So really
justifiable excuses, my girl.
Absolutely. And listen, hey, this has been really great. And I know I can guarantee you probably that there's at least a few people, or maybe more, that have resonated with you today. So you want to tell them how they can get in touch with you, and can you go over like what you're offering to them, and so they can have a first touch with you?
Yeah, my first touch is 3 steps to completing opens, messes, and incompletes. So we spoke a little bit about it, but just you'll drop a link, I'm assuming, in the chat box, or you can get it off of my website, ldcstrategies.com. That's a first touch. If you want to chat with me, there's a chat with Lorianne opportunity right on my website, ldcstrategies.com. And that's Larry David Charlie Strategies, IES.com. And you can certainly follow me on Healthy Lifestyle with LA. That's a radio show on iHeartRadio. Be more than happy to chat with you at any time, but take those first steps. Again, it's about showing up for you. And if you don't show up for you, who is?
Awesome. And thank you very much again. Until next week, everyone, I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Biz Gone Social podcast. Find us on Instagram at Biz Gone Social for extra tips. Check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, stay social.